Welcome to NewsNation. Whether you're on the right or on the left, thank you for coming here to be reasonable. Happy Halloween to you. You like my mask? I'm masked as a prepubescent male. Look, enjoy the treats tonight, because tomorrow the government is playing a horrible trick on 42 million Americans. I am going to do this very professionally, okay? And that is not easy for me, because nothing pisses me off covering government as blaming poor people as if they're the problem. Nothing pisses me off like that, okay? For the first time in U.S. history, the United States of America won't be able to pay to feed its poor people. The Democrats shut down the government by refusing to give in on the budgeting process in the Senate. That is the truth. And I have said shutdowns should be illegal, and that this is not the way to fight even the good fight, which I believe the Democrats have. Millions need insurance subsidies, especially in red states, more so in red states. But no matter where you live, all of us are going to see rates go up for health insurance thanks to this administration. You don't have to believe me. You'll get the letter just like I did, okay? I also think Democrats should focus on the subsidies and give the state reimbursement issue for emergency care for undocumented kids and adults, give it to MAGA. That's the stick they swing. Oh, we don't want to talk about health care because they just want to give free care to illegals. Give them the issue. You decide, MAGA. You decide what states get reimbursed for emergency care to kids and undocumented people. And then they own it, and they can leave the states hanging for money because they're going to have to give the care. Right fight to have is the subsidies. The shutdown is the wrong way to have it. Now, I know that's totally frustrating to you if you're a partisan. Oh, why can't he just say MAGA sucks? Oh, why can't he just say the Dems are trying to fund the illegals and they shut it down? Because it's not that damn simple, okay? And you want it to be simple, so you don't have to be a critical thinker, so you could just feel your way through it. And everyone on social media that gets paid to provoke you wants you to think it's simple, wants you to think it's one-dimensional, because that's how they manipulate you. But not on my watch, okay? There is no high ground for MAGA here, even though the Democrats did precipitate the shutdown. Why? Because they are punishing the poor on purpose, thinking that that pain and those optics will fuel the perception as reality in politics and make the Democrats lose. But not on the backs of the poor. MAGA is forcing people to go hungry by insisting on not using SNAP's already allotted reserve funds. How do we know? 2 federal judges say so, in suits that the government brought to not use the funds. Again, who brought the suits? The government. Why? Because they don't want to use the funds. These are facts. Now, as some of you take a break from the debate between NASA and Kim Kardashian about whether we landed on the moon, again, sign of the apocalypse, sign that we've lost the plot, okay? This is how stupid we're allowing ourselves to be. Now that that's taken a little break, people are hearing about this, and it looks terrible. The judges coming out and it popping up in your feed. Wait, the Trump administration doesn't want poor people to get food stamps? Yeah. And you know who knows it? The president. That's why he pivoted. And here's why I call it a pivot. Here's his statement. I've instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. If we're given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it will be my honor, caps, to provide the funding just like I did with the military and law enforcement pay. Okay. Let's do it slow and easy, all right? This is a series of untruths, okay? MAGA hung the military out to dry until there was outrage. Then they cobbled together money for it. They didn't do it when they first knew it was happening. That's the least of it, by the way, okay? The idea he has to wait on the courts. First of all, the courts already gave you the guidance. Okay, so if you were waiting on the courts, you got the guidance. Second, the courts didn't have to give you any guidance because the reserve for SNAP was already in place. And if Trump wanted to feed the poor, not only is he not the kind of guy to wait. When have you ever heard him say, I'm waiting for the court to give me guidance? He always says, I don't need the court. And then if they do give guidance, he says that it's fake news or fake law, whatever, you know, activist judges, well, whatever. Now he wants guidance from the court? Of course not. If he wanted to feed the poor, he would not have had the government fight in the lawsuits claiming that they can't pay. Come on. This is not a close call, okay? And by messing with SNAP, here's the weird part. I took care of the military. Did you? Did you? Because if you mess with SNAP, guess who you're messing with? The military. Why? Shame upon shame. Not only does America, the richest country, have 1 in 8 of us needing help to eat, but that includes military families. 20,000 military families, 1.2 million veterans are on food stamps. Again, do not tell me that there is a real issue here, that it's not about MAGA wanting it this way. This is just how it is. That's not true. I can prove it. First, fact, last shutdown, 2019, Trump administration allowed SNAP to pay benefits out of the reserve fund. Same situation, different analysis. Why? You tell me. Second, as recently as September, the USDA, which is the agency that administers food stamps, wrote that in case of a shutdown, congressional intent is evident that SNAP's operations should continue since the program has been provided with multi-year contingency fund. Third, after the shutdown started, the USDA suddenly canceled and deleted that guidance. How convenient. What a coincidence. 4, the Trump administration has a new reckoning that it can only use the reserve funds if it's an emergency like a natural disaster, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, you know. The law says nothing like that. It is a reserve. It is not an emergency fund. 5, this is not my opinion. This is the opinion from the Government Accounting Office, okay? This is who we use in America to assess things of budgetary nature. The GAO says the funds can be used to pay for SNAP. 6, if this were a legitimate issue of whether or not they can, the woman running the program for the Trump administration would not rely on this completely prejudiced basis.
The problem is you have an extremely corrupt program. We're going to be talking a lot more about SNAP reform. We've got a lot of people listening now, which is very, very helpful. And to take that program back to its original intent of helping those who are truly needy in our communities, but not to have a massive welfare benefit where so many people are taking advantage of it that shouldn't be. The astronomical costs of the SNAP program under Joe Biden was historical. It was unprecedented, and we don't have the same levels of funding that were there in the past.
Man, look, you know how important it is to me that we learn how to disagree with decency, right? That we let conversation be the cure, that we find a way towards solutions. But man, I'm telling you, I cannot listen to this woman lie to you like that, hoping that you will never look up anything she just said. And Johnson, Mr. Rule by the Good Book. It is disgusting. Stop blaming the poor for being poor. All right? It's untrue and un-Christian, and I can prove it. The Christian part is easy. Love mercy. Do for the least of us. I mean, what is he nodding his head along on? Remember that when you're in service. How much of our budget is SNAP? How much of the federal budget? Take a guess. So much. 2%. For every dollar we spend, we give fewer than 2 cents to feed the poor in the richest country in the world. Okay? Oh, and but it's Biden. Biden did it. You know what Biden did? During the pandemic, when the poor and disabled needed it, he raised it. Guess how much? Guess how much they got? In largesse, the good life. $1.20 a day. That's corruption now. For the same people who are silent about the president pardoning a Chinese crypto criminal because he made his sons rich. But this is corruption. Not only is SNAP not a waste, it is a metaphor for what we're supposed to be about, a hand up for the most vulnerable. It is not a ticket to the good life. You couldn't live on this for 5 minutes. 4 in 10 of the people who get it are kids. 1 in 10 are 5 or younger. 16 million kids are in this catchment bowl that she's maligning as if they're just lazy and getting the good life while you're busting your ass. We're talking about extremely poor people. On average, people on SNAP make $500 a month after taxes. I can't believe they even pay taxes. Guess how much the government has given them? $6 a day. No one's quitting their job to get $6 a day in government cheese. Not only are there work requirements if you want food stamps, but you have to be able-bodied. Even if you quit your job for a reason that your former employer or the government doesn't like, you can't get it. You cannot get the assistance. And by the way, the program happens to work. You heard Stephen A. Smith say the other night he was a product of it. Okay? People are using it to go from poverty to independence. It's not my opinion. Okay? Here's the data. 1 in 4, 25%, leave the program within 4 months. Half leave within a year. 70% leave within 2 years. I mean, come on. Come on with the welfare queen stuff. They keep having more babies so they can get more money. These are lies. These are myths to make it easier to control you. That's what they are. I'm telling you, look, here's something else that is also true. I don't rely on this, but it matters to my producer, so I'm going to lay it out for you. I get that you don't want to spend any more of your money helping people that you don't think want to help themselves. I'm telling you that is not my understanding or my experience in covering this issue for 25 years. Are there lazy people who get government? Yes. Yes, there are. But not in any kind of degree that makes any kind of difference. And let them show me data otherwise. You notice how she didn't show you a damn piece of evidence of anything. We're going to be talking a lot coming up. I'm glad people are paying attention. No, you're not. So, what happens with SNAP money? Okay? For every dollar the government spends on SNAP, the GDP, according to the government's own research, increases by $1.50. $1 in, $1.50 into the economy. How? How? Even though, because if that's true, it's way more effective than a corporate tax cut, by the way. But why? Because people on SNAP spend their money almost immediately. Sales, demand, orders, generates more shipping, manufacturing, profits, increase. You know how the whole cycle of supply and demand works. Many local economies and small businesses are deeply reliant on people with food stamps. Why? Because they operate in places where everybody's broke in this crazy-ass, top-heavy society that we have, when there is a majority choking on affordability problems. The worst myth was Reagan did this. Welfare queen. Only black people are on food stamps. Disproportionate. You know who the biggest beneficiaries are? No surprise, white people, right? The most people are going to be the most representative. 35% white, 26% black, 16% Latino. All right? I mean, come on. Come on. We got to be better than this, all right? What Trump is telling you about this is not true, and I'm not going out of my way to criticize the President of the United States. There's been too much of it already. I think we got to get focused on solutions and how we get better. But you're not going to blame poor people for a condition that they don't control. And you're not going to try and take money from them to create pain and create optics and then say you're not doing it. No, not on my watch. Now, how do we get to a better place? Because all the reporting we're having, you heard from Leland Vittert earlier in the show, and you'll hear after tonight, is that, maybe next week, not until the elections, we don't want to give too strong a message, but, maybe after that. And if not, we'll probably go through around Thanksgiving. Really? Let's ask Two people willing to come on together. Remember, that's the NewsNation way. If you're not willing to talk to the other side, I don't want to hear your face. Democratic member of Congress, Washington State, Adam Smith. Republican member of Congress, California, Kevin Kiley. And Kev, I'll have you know, one of the first things that Adam said when we were asking him what mattered tonight is, hey, you know, Kiley is one of the few that stayed in town to do his job. You know, that one of the reasons I love Adam. Now, Kevin, help me with something. Is anything I just said, forget about how you feel about SNAP. Do you disagree with my analysis about why what is happening with SNAP is happening right now?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, number one, that it's absolutely essential that we protect those SNAP benefits. And number two, that there are plenty of layers of political dysfunction at play here. Number one, in terms of the government itself shutting down. Number two, I'm co-sponsoring a bill that would at least assure that SNAP benefits continue. But the House of Representatives isn't even in session, so we can't advance that bill. So, look, I mean, I'm glad that there's apparently legal authority to tap into that contingency fund, but that's not even going to provide for full payments for a month, only for partial payments. So it's at best a Band-Aid. What we need to do is get the government open, and short of that, get an appropriation for SNAP itself.
Right, but on the flip side, there's absolutely no reason for you to not use the reserve fund. The only reason to not use the reserve fund is to make this worse. Do we agree on that?
No, I agree. To the extent that there's legal authority, it should be used, but these are going to be partial payments that don't go very far. We need to get SNAP fully.
Yeah, I know, Kevin, but I'm just saying, look, I get it. It's not enough. But I'm saying, you know, your MAGA team didn't even want this. You don't have to wait on legal authority. You allowed it in the first administration. You don't have to wait on legal authority. You had two judges tell you can do it. You don't have to wait on legal authority. The GAO told you that you could do it. The guidance of the agency said you could do it until they mysteriously changed the guidance for the benefit of this shutdown. I'm telling you, Kevin, it's an easy call. The shutdown itself is a harder call. Adam, that takes me to you. The easiest way to get these people their benefits is to reopen the government, and but for Senate Democrats, the government would be open. So what does that mean to you in terms of it being on Democrats to find a way to make a deal to do exactly that?
Well, first of all, let me defend Kevin a little bit. I think he did very straightforwardly agree with you. Now, that the benefit should be paid.
I'm a big fan of Kevin. I'm pro Kiley. Pro Kiley. He's young. He's better looking than me. Usually I don't let those guys on the show. But I'm pro Kiley. I'm still pro Kiley. Continue, Adam.
I'm really enjoying this.
The one thing I'll also say is, you know, it is billions of dollars. It's not a pittance. It's a pretty significant amount of money that will pay a fair amount of benefits for quite a while. And it shouldn't have been held up, as you said. Look, the shutdown's complicated and difficult because we had a crisis coming November 1st. You know, Mike Johnson said, you know, we'll talk to you November 21st. And we're like, no, the healthcare thing happens. And by the way, I'm not a Democrat who's saying you have to do it exactly our way on the ACA. You know, we made an offer. Come make us an offer. Let's figure out how we're going to deal with the millions of people who are going to lose healthcare on November 1st.
Adam, what do you think about my idea of giving them the reimbursement issue? Give them the reimbursement issue for undocumented migrants. Let them figure out the percentage.
By that. I'm willing to look at different issues. I'm not going to commit to anything based on just something I heard you say in a monologue. But yeah, I mean, we should have a conversation about how to get to the right place on that. The shutdown's complicated. One thing I really admire Kevin for, because, you know, of many problems with this, the idea that Mike Johnson shut down Congress, that basically he dissolved the United States House of Representatives since September 19th in favor of executive authority, is unbelievably disturbing. And it also made the situation worse. In every other shutdown that we've had before, even as we fought and disagreed about how to open the government, we tried to mitigate the damages. We tried to find ways to make it less bad. And Mike Johnson said, screw you, we're going home. This is our offer. Nothing to be said. Now, two things on the shutdown. Sorry, you threw a lot at me here, so I'm trying to get through it. But two things on the shutdown. Number one, when you say, you know, shutdown should be illegal, the problem with that is when you get to October 1st, if you haven't passed appropriations bills, if you just do a CR, there are Republicans, not Kevin, but there are Republicans in the House who have advocated for several sessions now, year-long CR, never fund the government. And if we gave them what you just said, that's what we'd get. There'd be no appropriations bills. We'd just have a CR forever, which is devastating to the government and puts us in an impossible position. Either we vote for a budget that we don't like or we shut down the government. So it is much more complicated, and there's no never shut down the government, everything will be okay. No. If you're talking about a budget that reflects only Trump's priorities, the purpose of the filibuster is to force negotiation, is to say, okay, you got to have Democrats, got to have Republicans, let's both come together. Trump and Mike Johnson said, no, sorry. What it means is you have to vote for our budget. Now, I will say this, and this will make you a little happier. November 1st is coming. It's almost here, hours away. Nothing was done. House Republicans didn't deal with it. The pain is ratcheting up. I'm perfectly willing to have a conversation with my Democratic colleagues and say, look, we tried. We tried to force this issue. The Republicans ignored it. We need to think about now what the next step is. And the next step may be finding some way to open the government short of what we wanted. That's a reasonable conversation to have. But if we had said, no, we'll never shut down the government, you guys are completely in control, we would have had no leverage whatsoever to force positive changes for the American people, to give people health care that they're going to lose. So
I understand the argument, but there's one aspect of it that is not a secret, which is the people who pay for the shutdown do not deserve to pay the price.
Oh, completely agree
and
with
that is why, to me, I know you do, but that's why, to me, it's an unacceptable mechanism, and I think you can work around the year-long CR within whatever restricts the shutdown.
The people who pay for programs being canceled because President Trump doesn't follow the appropriations law, they're not the people who vote for it either. So the notion that somehow if the government isn't shut down and we just let this go forward, no one's paying anything, that's the part I disagree with.
I get it. All right, Kevin, I'll give you a last quick word so you can go out and trick or treat.
That's right. Look, we need to get the government back open, and I don't disagree that there are legitimate issues here. Certainly, I'm very concerned about the ACA subsidies issue, and I understand the concerns of the other side around rescissions. And I'm not a fan of CRs. I totally agree with Adam on that, having another year-long CR. Congress hasn't actually passed enacted a full budget or a real appropriations bill since March of last year. The idea that we'd put this on autopilot for another year is absolutely crazy to me. But, you know, as Adam detailed, the consequences of this government shutdown are continuing to pile up. The idea that we could even think about people losing SNAP benefits, all of the people that are being furloughed. We need to get the government back open, but I also think it's absolutely unacceptable that the House of Representatives has now canceled its 6th consecutive week of session. That means that we've missed all of our hearings and legislative oversight and everything else we were supposed to do. And it also absolutely set the wrong tone for trying to find some bipartisan common ground to get us out of this mess.
Well said.
Amen.
Well said, but be careful. You're going to get kicked off all the committees. Don't be too honest, Kevin. Don't be too honest. Adam Smith, thank you very much. Kevin Kiley, thank you for having a candid conversation. I wish you both very well. We'll discuss again. 4 minutes and 35 seconds. Now, you know who was taking advantage of Halloween also that we got to keep our eye on? Terrorists. Okay? I don't mean the kind who are trying to steal your candy, put razor blades in the candy, all those scary urban myths. Domestic terror is the biggest threat we face. Now, I talk all the time about, hey, don't blame it on just jihadis. It's not just extreme Islamists that are doing this. We're doing it with just white American kids we see committing acts of terror and political violence. Well, this is back to the old boogeyman. The FBI thwarted a potential violent attack in Dearborn, Michigan, and it was related to extreme Islamism. 5 people taken into custody, 16 to 20 years old. Wait until you hear who they were and what this was about. Next. Poof. Hello. I was just arguing with Dusty about something stupid, but I was right as always. Listen, thank you very much. You helped us meet our early goal for Movember. You know what this is all about, right? People embarrass themselves like this because I can't grow anything. I only shaved the chin for my fire training tomorrow morning because my chief told me to, but I will continue. If you can give, give. I'm doing it with the brothers at the firehouse because this is what these guys are about. You know how you love your first responders? You're right to. These are good men and women who go out of their way as volunteers for everybody else's benefit. And now I'm willing to embarrass myself for their cause. So please, come along, let us raise some money, let us do something good together. Now, Unfortunately, we need to do as much of that as we can because there are too many people getting together to do bad things to the rest of us. This morning, FBI Director Kash Patel announced that the FBI foiled an alleged potential Halloween terror plot in Dearborn, Michigan. Now, look, I felt that this language, these people are not slow to pat themselves on the back, and it seemed a little mushy to me. So we looked into it. Here's what we know, all right? 2 were arrested, 3 taken into custody. What's the difference? Well, there's not necessarily probable cause to arrest, but they wanted to talk to them and they had reasonable suspicion to do that. So we'll see what happens. The suspects were 16 to 20. That's another reason why you just don't arrest. You got to be careful with teenage perps or alleged perps. Who are they? Naturalized citizens from a Middle Eastern country. What was this about? Weapons training and connections to ISIS extremism, okay? ISIS extremism is redundant. ISIS is a terror organization. Everything they do is extremist by nature. So, in an online chat monitored by undercover FBI agents, they allegedly referred to Pumpkin Day as the day of attack. Dearborn, Michigan, why? Very big Muslim and Arab community. Now, is this something we're going to be seeing more of? People who are in the business of keeping us safe say yes. I want to bring in former acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, who specialized in exactly this, and Michigan native independent journalist, man I trust, Charlie LeDuff, who knows the demographics and the politics of this very well. He's done extensive reporting on members of the terrorism watch list living in Dearborn. In fact, he was chasing a guy from Hezbollah, another terror organization, right up the street from where these guys lived. Chad, Charlie, thank you, especially on Halloween. Thank you for being here. And Charlie, thank you for shaming me with that mustache. Chad, what do people have to know about the reality of this kind of set of allegations and the reality of terror here from abroad?
Well, this incident is one that we've seen, unfortunately, play out time and time again. Now, it's early in the investigation, as you indicated, Chris, so we don't know a lot. We don't know if the other 3 are going to be arrested, what they're going to be charged with. We'll see that come out probably in the proceeding over the next several days. But this is an what looks to be, I should say, an ISIS-inspired potential attack that was thwarted by the FBI. So again, we've seen this over the past several decades. Very different than what you would consider domestic, homegrown terrorism, right? These are individuals in the United States, in this case naturalized, that have become inspired, probably over the internet, probably radicalized over the internet, and had plans to do an attack. Now, in this case, the FBI thwarted them. Unfortunately, not in every instance are they thwarted. We saw last year an ISIS-related vehicle attack in New Orleans. We saw an election day attack thwarted last year as well. So these things do pop up time and time again, unfortunately.
Now, Charlie, there are people, I really needed you tonight, so thank you for coming up, who will say, putting this on, so we don't know that this is about anything to do with Islamism or ISIS. We don't know. This is just Islamophobia, trying to blame these people for their faith instead of their actions. What do you know about what was being investigated here and what you've seen in this community?
Nothing in terms of today. I mean, we all saw a tweet and that's it. If you just go through some of the skinny details here, weapons training, 16 to 20-year-old. You can't possess a firearm, a handgun, until you're 21. You can't possess a long arm until you're 18. I don't know. But what I do know is, yes, Dearborn has, as we've been talking together on this show, some Islamic extremism. I chased a guy led in by the Biden administration tied to Hezbollah. There's also a guy here, I've been battling with this guy, who radicalizes people online. In fact, Westerners that moved to Syria to fight with ISIS, he was the #1 guy that they listened to on YouTube. Turns out, he went to high school here. He grew up near the Red Robin. He wore a knit tie at his graduation photo next to a girl named Debbie with big hair. So I don't know, but this is what I do know in total. Take it easy, lunatics online. Like, Dearborn is a cool place. It's a decent place. It's half Arab and half not. It's half Muslim and half not. And if you want to think about extremism in Michigan specifically, the second biggest terror event in America was Oklahoma City, and they trained on the Nichols Farm, not 10 miles from my fishing shack in the thumb of Michigan. So take it easy with the, let's look at them, man. We got a sweet deer, but it's not really like that. This kind of crap goes on all around the country.
Well, look, Chad, last word to you on this. Charlie couldn't be more right. Look at the recent spate of political violence in this country, from the attempted assassination of the president on down. We're not seeing jihadis. We're seeing young American, mostly white men. What does that tell us about the spread of fundamentalism and extreme thought in our society?
Well, look, I think you can have both. It's not one or the other, right? You can have domestic terrorism, political violence that we see over these last several years, largely coming from the left. But you can also have these ISIS-inspired attacks. Different foreign terrorist organizations recruit online, they inspire online, and they try to recruit online. So it doesn't surprise me that we continue to see this in the United States. It's hard to thwart that. It's hard to prevent those types of attacks, although we try to do that. But I think we see both types of terror, unfortunately, here in such an open society that we do see this. So I don't think it's one or the other. Unfortunately, we have both.
And you got to learn to tell the difference. So, Chad, thank you very much. Charlie, one more reason I love you. Thank you for keeping it straight and keeping it calm. We'll talk soon. 4 minutes and 30 seconds coming up. And look, you know, again, I know how partisans feel about this. Have we seen more in this recent spate of violence, a presence of people from the left wing? Yeah. What is the number one domestic terror threat in the country? Right wing violence. That's according to the FBI in their own case structure. So there's plenty of blame to go around. Now, is it even? No, we've had a lot more right. Maybe that's changing, but it's all bad. The Palisades Fire. I took particular interest in something that came out in the LA Times today. Is it the case that the reason that fire got so bad is because firefighters walked away from a still smoldering conflagration on state land, and that reignited and became what we all witnessed in real time? Some are saying yes. But a lot of people, especially the brothers and sisters who are first responders, are saying it's not that simple. A former Los Angeles Battalion Chief is in to give us his assessment, and I trust because he did the job. Next. No need to remind you about the Palisades fires out in California. A dozen people killed, 7,000 homes, huge numbers, right? So if firefighters had been able to contain the first massive fire, the Hochman Fire in the Pacific Palisades, might things have been different? Yeah, I mean, it's tough to speculate. But the LA Times is reporting that the day after that fire, the initial blaze, the Hochman one that they now blame someone for starting, that fire crews doing cleanup work warned a battalion chief that the ground was still smoldering and rocks were still hot to the touch. They allege that instead of staying, they were ordered to leave. Just days later, it did reignite and eventually became that inferno, all right? Just hours ago, the LA mayor called for a thorough investigation, and now the governor's office may be involved. NewsNation's Rich McHugh confirmed the fire started on state land, which would be the governor's responsibility. Newsom's being accused of not closing the park, and despite his claims that he sent assets to the area before the fire, sources within CAL FIRE told Rich McHugh that not a single fire truck was pre-deployed to the Palisades. Newsom's office denies the allegation and has pointed the finger back at the LA Fire Department. That's all noise. Let's get some signal, all right? Former LAFD Battalion Chief Rick Crawford joins me now. It's good to see you, Rick. Thank you for doing the job. Help us understand. Would someone like you ever tell someone like me calling in saying, Chief, they're still smoldering here. Would you say, oh, okay, I don't care, just leave? What is your understanding of what would have happened here?
Well, good to be with you, Chris. First of all, thank you for also doing your work in the firehouse. So super appreciate that. For me, as an incident commander, I would want my firefighters coming to me saying, hey, Chief, this is what we're feeling. We're feeling some things that are uncomfortable. We call those watch outs. As soon as I hear a watch out, that means I can't be business as usual. That means I have to take additional actions. such as deploying drone equipment and other heat detection equipment. I can get a helicopter to bring out what we call the FLIR, right? The FLIR, and so it's infrared
night vision.
technology. What I would do in this particular situation is also call a network of other chief officers if I'm feeling uncomfortable about that, and make sure that I'm covering all my bases. The point is to have a mission completion culture. And when you don't have that, you run the risk of leaving things open like this. This was absolutely something that I will say that, yes, it could have been preventable, but not having that mission completion culture opened the door for this to actually take off days later on January 7th.
But Chief, does it pass the smell test for you that guys would say, hey, this is still smoldering, we shouldn't leave, and that they would be told, no, pack it up and leave, and then nobody would check again? Have you ever heard of anything like that? Yeah,
well, no. I would think one is that I think this too is that it's not as simple as just a pack it up and leave. I'm sure that there were other conversations that were held about it, and inevitably the summary of it is we packed up and left. But when you have firefighters bringing that, and this has been a discussion amongst these firefighters, bringing this out now, basically almost like a whistleblower mindset, bringing this out to the public. And what happens is that the other parts of the failure was LAFD had multiple opportunities to go back out there even after they packed up and left, because there was an alert January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Each day those alerts increased in severity. And as an incident commander, for me, I'm definitely sending my people back out there to take one more look to make sure we have heat detection drones that are in the air. I can tell the public absolutely surety that we looked at this fire and I saw absolutely zero hot spots using drone detection technology. If you don't do that, then you leave yourself at risk to now be in the explanation phase like what's happening right now.
Yeah, look, Chief, I mean, obviously, I'll tell you, I'm doing the job because it makes me feel better that I'm actually doing something that I know helps in society. Everything else has gotten very cloudy in my professional life. But what you guys do, what the brothers and sisters do as first responders, is beyond reproach in terms of service. I want to go slow, as you have, and thank you for that, in terms of believing that this was about negligence by the first responders. It's so unusual for firefighters to do anything but too much when it comes to fighting. Now, the governor's office and how they deployed state assets, that's a different issue. And that may be part of the equation. But in terms of firefighters saying, oh, yeah, I hear there's a fire, go home anyway. It's not. You've had so much experience. I have no experience, but we both agree on that. It's hard to see it that way. Chief, thank you so much for doing the job, helping us understand it. I hope to meet you soon.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Be well, brother. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Up next, what do you think of all this? Where's your head at here on Halloween? Boo. Have your say. 844-968-7720. But don't forget Movember. All right? This ain't cheap. So, Dusty, I'm trying to... Whoa! That's some costume. Whoa, you got me. Woo!
And what do you,
I'm trying to figure out how to... I'm trying to figure out how to work my mustache into my repertoire. I think when you're talking to me and I find something curious, I'm going to start going like this. Yes. Yes.
We don't have a lot of time, and I feel bad taking time away from the callers, but I'm going to speak for many of the callers on their behalf now, okay, instead of taking the actual call. The facial hair, I would rather give you the money, every penny I have, for your charity, because it's distracting to me and everybody who watches the show.
Distractingly attractive?
No, not
distractingly attractive?
No.
Are you sure? Are you sure people aren't saying that I'm too handsome?
I'm reading all the comments. No.
You sure?
I'm quite
Maybe
sure.
missing a word? All right. Because I'm hearing differently, so we know.
They're lying
but let me
to
take
you.
a question.
Well, you're going to get one now. Maddie Stu, who I'm sure will echo my sentiment.
Oh, no. Maddie Stu, what's your question?
Hey, Chris. I actually think you're a little wrong with the Trump shutdown take. I actually think he's winning the shutdown. Overall, he's the one who's going to get the right message across. The Democrats' message seems to only be fight Trump, stand up to Trump. For a party that is against kings, when the government shut down, you give a lot of power to the president. It seems that their only move is just to fight Trump at this point.
All right. You're right-ish right? The Democrats are definitely desperate for muscularity, and when you're desperate, sometimes you don't make your best moves. I think the shutdown was a mistake. I get why they're doing it. I think you've heard me many times. I think if they're fighting the right fight, I think they're fighting it the wrong way. In terms of who wins, I think they're all losing, I'll be honest, especially with this snap thing. And I couldn't let it go. I am in no rush to create more division, okay? But I can't let it go. You're not going to blame the least of us for the problems that are caused by the few at the top. You can't do that. Next.
We don't have time for another one. We'll put up your donate, because I'm hoping if people donate really quickly, we don't have to live through this through all of November. And by the way,
here's one right now from Twitter.
Oh, God.
I can't focus on what you're saying because your mustache is too attractive.
Oh, wait, I have one.
I don't know.
I have one.
Wait, what?
Dusty, I beg
No, you
of
don't have one.
I beg of you, make him get rid of it. I beg you, please. You don't have enough viewers to lose me, too.
What are they saying? When they say get rid of you, they talking about the production staff?
Go to break.
All right. Dusty, I love you.
Bye-bye.
Trick or treat.
Go.
We'll be right back. Sometimes you got to laugh so that you're not crying and angry all the time, but you can't lose focus. Here at NewsNation, we got to stay on what matters to the majority, no matter how hard it is. Leland Vittert picks up our Halloween coverage.
As the majority says, please, for the love of God, shave over the weekend.
I can't. Movember. Stop shaming me, Leland. I already had to shave off my prodigious beard for training tomorrow morning. It's a huge loss. Huge loss.
Yes. We're all feeling it together. Chris, good luck over the weekend. Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.